Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission is Dianna Leeder, the author of a new book that we have coming out, Find Your Voice, Save Your Life, 3 Powerful Healers, Spiritual Stories. You guys, Dianna Leeder is a Canadian author, podcaster, and owner of Crave More Life Coaching. She's an intuitive coach and an expert at helping women find and confidently use their voices. She believes the time of women's voices being silenced is over, and through her Voices project and the Find Your Voice, Save Your Life book series, this gives women a platform for healing and living out loud. Welcome, Dianna.
Thank you, Laura. I'm very happy to be here. Excited about this book.
I'm happy to have you back, especially for this particular book, which has this little special place in my heart for lots of reasons. The first one being that I'm actually in this book with a chapter, which is pretty cool. I couldn't help myself there. Like, I need to write a chapter for this one. Like, this is important. But tell us a little bit about this journey for you and the Voices of Women project as a whole. Tell us about that.
Well, the Voices Project it just came about as something that kind of organically needed to happen for me, talking about spiritual stories. I think it's the need for it comes from wanting women to have a platform to be able to say whatever they need to say, to tell their stories, to write their stories, excuse me, to be able to be open about their lives. And this book really is no different. It's really the same concept. So under that project, the Voices Project, narrowing a little bit to voices, it gives women that opportunity. The books give women that opportunity. Other programs that I have give women that same opportunity for women who don't want to be in a book. And that's what it is. It's about time that we decided that we weren't going to be silent anymore. We were going to say what we needed to say, be ourselves.
So finding my spiritual voice was about sharing things I thought others might have some criticism about, or it was about sharing even though I was afraid of what they might think or say. And I call that kind of fear purpose-driven fear, because it has to do with something I was born to do, right? Like, this is about my purpose and sort of getting over those purpose-driven fears. So I want to know if you had any resistance to sharing your spiritual stories at first, and why or why not? How has that looked for you?
Oh gosh, yeah, I had big resistance. I didn't admit them to my gifts to myself for the longest time, even though I dabbled. I have a friend who is a medium, and I've connected with her for over 20 years. And always been told I have gifts. Always felt like I had some kind of gift, but didn't know really what it was or what to do with it. And would really just kind of, oh no, when someone would say something to me about the gifts that I had, no, that's not me, because that seemed like such a big deal, such a big thing. Wow, you have spiritual gifts? Holy shit. That's what it was like for me. So I dismissed that, which, in the bigger scheme of finding your voice, that was just me silencing myself. I didn't stop and consider what those gifts were for me, or how they could support me, or how I could use those gifts to support others. So it was a big one, but it was me holding them back. Yeah.
So I kind of want to hear the turning point then. Like, can you remember the time where you decided, all right, I got to start to talk about this?
Very clearly. And it's my chapter is about that in the book. So
so don't give it all up then.
Oh, I will give it all. Being in an emergency room, and the out of sheer boredom, I decided that I needed something to do. You know, you don't sleep when you're in an emergency room, and so I was going to try to heal myself, and I did. From an ailment that, yeah, we'll keep that under wraps, but from an ailment that I knew I had had many, many, many times, and knew that I wasn't, you know, it wouldn't go away without the aid of pharmaceuticals, right? So, which was not what I wanted anyway, right? So yeah, I had this time, I had this space, I had, you know, a little bit of privacy, and I healed myself. I just used my hands and I placed them on my body, and, you know, just left them there. I asked my guides to come and help me, my ancestors, my parents, anybody, my angels, anybody that was around me to come and help me, add their power to mine, and yeah, within a couple hours I was good to go. I was out the door, and I had a prescription, but I didn't need it. I didn't use it.
I loved your chapter. I loved that you used the sort of Western medical emergency rooms scene for us, because I think, well, I know all growing up, I was always taught that the doctors had the power and the control, and that I would have to look to other people to fix me, figure it out, all of those things. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I'm gathering that that might have been a little bit of your journey leading up to this as well.
Absolutely. You know, I've always struggled actually with traditional medicine. You know, I don't. I have a family doctor because I'm supposed to have a family doctor. I rarely contact her or go and see her. I don't use her in that way, and partially because I have found that. You know, traditional medicine just, well, it just doesn't meet my needs. It's not open enough. It's very directive as opposed to interactive, you know, as a patient and a practitioner, and that's not my style. That doesn't work for me, and I don't want to take pills. so I you know, I like to find other ways. So absolutely, being there, it's kind of yeah, it needed to be, I think, in a place like that. The first time that I actually proved to myself that this is real, needed to be there.
Well, you know, there's a very wonderful place for emergency medicine. The miracle of modern medicine, we should mention, is, you know, really great in some kinds of ways. But I think Dianna and I are really talking about the way that the Western medical system treats people as a whole, and really that holistic aspect of the person, body, mind, soul, spirit. And this is a topic I could talk about all day long. So I want to kind of move on to, first of all, just to say thank you for getting this group of amazing authors together. Your big mission to help women find and share their voices is it's drawing in a group of women who are really ready to kind of step up and do the work of healing, but then go one step further and share those words and those voices and those messages out loud. And yeah, tell us a little bit about this author cast. So we want to say thank you to all of you if you're watching.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And they are amazing. They really are. They're powerful. They are powerful women. They you know, their gifts are incredible. You got to read the book to, you know, to really get a sense of what all those gifts are. I've just been, they just blow me away. They gather, they have strength as a group as well. You know, they hold space for one another. They hold space for this book. You know, it's, yeah, they're awesome. I was just, I was going through the book this morning, and I, again, after how many times that we've read it, and I found a quote from Jen Bates, who is an energy medicine practitioner, and this is such a clear quote. The comedy is on us when we try to take our extraordinary life experiences and fit them neatly into some kind of compartment so others can feel comfortable. And so much of the book is just that. It's, you know, it's being and saying what we think others need from us, or won't accept of us. And then the other piece that almost all the authors run into is how Spirit has helped them get through either, horrific experiences, negative experiences, tragedies, all that kind of stuff. It's been there for them. So it's so their stories are amazing, and I can't wipe the smile off my face because I love them all. I'm so grateful that they found their way to this book, and I don't think that was a surprise, or I think that was planned somewhere. And I'm very grateful that it was.
I'm just chuckling because in these projects, you guys, we tend to use a lot of the A words like awesome and amazing, and then the P's, powerful, and because it's true. And it's when we think of this group as a community, that's what starts to happen. Is it really has been amazing. And I wanted to actually ask you about that piece of things here. Tell me about that spiritual community of yours. How did that look beforehand? How is it evolving for you? And really, what has it meant to you in terms of living your awesome life?
It's been I'll use that A word again. It's been amazing. It has, and it has shifted so many things for me because I approach life from a very practical place. My whole coaching practice has been about, helping women find their voice, but doing it from a way that any woman is going to just get. It's not something way over there that, either they're not going to understand or feel that they don't have access to. Accessibility in terms of the information, I think, has got to be number one for me. So in doing that, like being that practical person, I found myself being really limited, leaving the spiritual piece out. I found myself being really limited by the bigger picture, or without having access to the bigger picture, I should say. And when my spiritual community began to grow, including all the authors of this book, it just opened up that space for me that said, there is more. We don't have to be stuck, and your books and your chapter, this so well. We don't have to be stuck in those mindsets. We don't have to be stuck in negativity. We don't have to be stuck with anything we don't want. But we do have to know what it is, what the rub is, what the perceived threat is, and manage it. So that's really what this group has done for me. It's opened me up to all of that larger, that bigger picture. And it's really taught me that the beauty of unconditional love it creates connections that I don't think I would have had otherwise. It's acceptance. It's acceptance and self-reliance.
We could go on that one, couldn't we? There's a list of things that it is. And thank you for being part of my Brave Healer community. Thank you for bringing the authors into that community. And I just wanted to say briefly, my 2 cents about this too, is that I've watched the community grow and expand in that beautiful energy of love and generosity and collaboration. Those are powerful manifesting energies. And so now I feel like, and it's making me have goosebumps, now I feel like finally bringing all of those kinds of people together who have committed their lives to the practice. That's huge. And the ripple vibes are spreading very quickly, fiercely, across the world. And it's been very exciting. So thank you for being part of that.
Thank you.
And
can I just toss in too, sorry, honey.
Yeah,
go ahead. Toss in too that being committed to the practice absolutely is so huge. And that includes being committed to ourselves, right? It's, that was a connection that I didn't make for a very long time, that in order to be open to the larger community, I needed to be open to what was in my heart and my soul, and express all that stuff. So where I looked at it from a practical place before, it gave me another way to look at it too. And it was
Well,
It
so
was
how did you know what I was going to ask you next? So, like, to me, being a healer is about awareness. And this is what you're talking about. The book is full of gifts of awareness, you guys, and the stories that these authors are sharing. And they're helping you along the journey by basically offering those very vulnerable windows into what theirs was. But um, my personal practice has saved me some days. So I wanted to hear more about what your practice of awareness looks like in your day to day. So you just gave us a little piece of that. How does that actually look in your normal life, that practice?
that practice for me is lots of meditation. And because I consider myself a spiritual newbie, that's really important. And I don't mind being there at all. That's not a negative at all. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to learn about, about spirit, but about myself as well. So it's maintaining that connection. So the meditation is a really big one for me, and always reflecting. Before I make a decision or before I allow a negative thought to come in and sit there too long. It's being aware of what's happening and knowing that I have a choice and reflecting that choice on what I know to be true about myself. So instead of, for instance, if I were to be full of, oh, I can't do that, then I just, I get connected and I ask myself those questions. Is that really true? Like, can I not do that? Am I incapable of doing that? Is this a path that really is going to light me up? So yeah, it's the awareness, and it is that practice, that regular practice, and connecting with people like yourself and your community has been such a huge part of that. You've taught me a lot, Laura. Yeah, I have to thank you big time.
You're welcome. I think that we're doing such big, profound work in the world. And the practice for me has come in layers and stages. And I love to look at that picture now, that bigger picture. Of course, you can always look back and go, ooh, look at that, where you've come. But what I know and what I want to tell our viewers about finding your voice is that it can start at the beginning with in small ways, even just by journaling words onto a piece of paper, which you can burn later if you need to. Okay. Because it's about shifting energy. It's about moving the stuff out of you first. And then I'm going to just jump you, which I know is scary, but all the way to the day I stood on a stage shaking and speaking into a microphone, right? Those are two very far ends of a spectrum of finding your voice and saving your life, right? But I just want to encourage people that it doesn't have to look like that, although that is a layer of very profound healing over there with that microphone in your face. But what about that for you? What do you want to tell people who are just sort of hopping on the journey with us with these books?
And I want to say that, yeah, it doesn't have to be that. But if you allow it to, it will be that. Because those bigger things just become more and more accessible to us. We what we feel like we can't do in the beginning is what we know that we can do part way, or we hope that we can, and then we get to the end and it's like, yeah, and then it just keeps growing. That we're never short of things that we want to challenge ourselves on, or ways that we can be our higher self. It's, yeah. So that's my piece there, is that it doesn't have to be that, but it will get that, and it will feel fantastic.
So to help women do this, you have a lot of different things going on. One of them is our community group on Facebook. It's called Find Your Voice Women. And I've got you hooked up down there in the show notes with the link, you guys. Okay. So that's one of the ways you can come into the community and rub elbows with Dianna and the other authors of the books, and just be served by this amazing mission of Dianna's. But what else do you have going on, Dianna, right now with your business and offerings and everything?
I have a couple of group programs that I'm offering, and one is called Writing for the Heal of It, and that's not solely, but is really, I built that really for women who are not comfortable being in a book. They're not ready to do that, so they get it's a combination of writing and coaching, and it can go very deep and very intense. But it's also very, very healing and very, very powerful to release whatever is happening. One of the things I like to ask people is, what do you absolutely do not want to write about? What is that? Just, even if you don't write about it today, identify it, and go from there. So that's one. I also have, you'll get what you want when you find your voice. Get everything you want when you find your voice. Which again is really a powerful process, and one that I'm working on to expand somewhat. Not quite ready to share the details of that expansion yet, but that group is we go through all the things that I go through with women on a one-to-one basis. So it's learning how to kick your own ass, learning how to be a conscious creator of your life, not sitting back and taking a back seat, or waiting for someone else to do something for you, or blaming other people, as we do sometimes when we're too frightened to take that next step. So that's the first part. The next part I like to call deep core mapping, and it's you're going to walk away knowing everything about yourself that you ever wanted to know.
Or didn't want to know.
Or didn't want to know. Yeah. Didn't want to know, because sometimes when we don't want to know, there's a reason why we don't want to know, right? It's, and then we life hack. That's what I like to call the third piece. We just go through relationships. It's all about relationships, right? So how does how are your relationships going? Like what's working for you, what isn't? And then just do that reflection again, as I was talking about for myself. Do that reflection again about, okay, is this what I want? Is this working for me? If it isn't, then let's figure out what does, based on what you already know about yourself. So it's an easy process, but it's deep. So yeah, I have those two programs, and then the new one that I'm not quite ready to talk about yet. I'm very excited about. So please watch, join my list and watch, because I'm very excited about it. And it's really sprung actually from this group of women. So I have to thank them for that, and for nudging me to do more and to be more. And I'm very, very grateful to these guys for that. So that is to come.
That is exciting. And a little bird also told me that you're partnering with Scott Holmes for the Find Your Voice, Save Your Life for Men book. So right. Men, we love you, men, and we haven't been leaving you out of the party. So we had to create a project for you also. So tell everyone a little bit about that project.
That one is wild. It's going to be so much fun. Yeah, Scott Holmes is an awesome person to be collaborating with on this book. So it's called Find Your Voice for
It's a hard word to say, I know.
It is, yes. Anyway, let's just get past that one, because I have thick lips this morning. And
Transcendent Men, real stories.
Transcendent Men. Thank you.
We'll do this together. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. And that what really drew me to working with Scott on this is that the concept of transcendent men is exactly what I would call a woman who's using her voice. So it's the same, it's the same thing. We have to look and decide what's important to us and what works for us, and be able to be that person. Who is that higher self that you see, that you get to know? How do you be her, or how do you be him, right? So it really, for me, it honors both, the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And it brings us together, as opposed to, challenging, which, using our voice, face it, using our voices as women or as men is very much challenged by the other gender. So it's kind of leaving that stuff on the floor for a bit and being ourselves, and then coming together in that, in that way, which I think is a beautiful way for both genders to come together and just live in some kind of harmony. So yes, I'm so super stoked for this one next year, next August.
Yes, so powerful project. If you're a guy happening to be listening, or maybe you're the gal, but your guy needs to be in this book. So drop down into the show notes. I have Dianna's website hooked up there, and you guys can contact Dianna for interest in anything that she's been talking about today. So Dianna, what are some last words for our viewers? Maybe there are some women listening today who are just still stuck in being able to find their voice. What's one thing you'd like to share with them today?
I want to encourage them to look at their spiritual side, not not with the expectation to need to do anything with it, or excuse me, be anything with it, but to look at it as being a part of the pie. We are the whole pie, but sometimes we leave pieces out, and often this piece is left out for lots of reasons. Either we're afraid of it, or we don't understand it, or we think it's out there, or whatever. But it's just one more piece, right? It's just one more piece of who we are. So don't leave it out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dianna, thank you so much for what you're doing in the world and for being here today to share it with us.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me, and thank you so much for making all this happen. It wouldn't we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Brave Fairly Productions and Laura DeFranco. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, we have a very big mission to wake the world up to what's possible in terms of healing, you guys. So thank you for being here and watching today. Share the video out, right, with a woman who is ready to find her voice. We would really appreciate that. And remember, you can join us on November 22nd at 12 noon Eastern when we celebrate with a live stream book launch party on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. All of our authors are going to be there to share their wisdom and inspiration with you. And you can RSVP at the link down below. You're going to find many of the authors of the Find Your Voice, Save Your Life books in Dianna's free group on Facebook. Find Your Voice Women. It's also down there. And lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.